So this process of setting our motivation is really key. Yeah, it's the most important thing, actually, in what we do, is not what we do, but why we do it. And this is one of the things that really attracted me to Buddhism at the beginning, because I looked around me, and in society we usually evaluate people by what they do, how they look, how they appear to society. Don't you think? Yeah, I mean, who gets written about? The people who make a lot of noise. Yeah, I won't mention who. But we all know. Yeah, so we just look very superficially at people and what they're doing and evaluate, oh, this person, their work is good, this person, their work isn't so good, or whatever. This person's successful, this person's not successful. We evaluate that on such a superficial level, superficial criteria, when actually the real value of what somebody does is determined by their motivation for doing it. Because we all know how to look good, don't we? Yeah? Didn't you learn that well as a kid? We learned how to look good in front of other people. Yeah? Because if we look good, then we're likely to get what we want. But we didn't necessarily learn how to have a kind motivation in our heart. And having a kind motivation in our heart and looking like we're kind and wise on the outside are two different ball games. Yeah? One example that I like to give, because it's so blatant, is if we take the example, let's say, of someone wanting to build a hospital or a clinic in an area of town that is impoverished. And, you know, they may get some grant money, but they're also looking for personal donations. So they go around and, you know, talk to different people to get personal donations for this clinic. And so there's one guy who's quite rich. Yeah, he gives $1 million, or maybe even $2 million. He's in a good mood, you know, to make this clinic. But his motivation is, you know, they're going to build the clinic, and they told me that afterwards in the entryway, they will have a plaque saying, this clinic built, you know, due to the kindness of so-and-so with his name on it and other donors, you know. And so he likes that idea, and he gives the $2 million. Everybody says, wow, this guy's so generous. He's so fantastic. Yeah. Then there's somebody else, maybe like you or me, and we can only give $20. You know, we don't have a lot. But we give our $20, and in our heart, we're saying, may this clinic be a success. May everybody who walks in this clinic be healed of whatever mental or physical ailments they have. May everybody who walks in this clinic have a peaceful mind. May the staff work together harmoniously. Yeah. And we give our $20. But with that kind of thought. Now, who gets written up in the newspaper? Who gets the plaque in the entryway? Yeah, it's the guy with the $2 million who gave the donation so that he could have the plaque in the entryway. Yeah, but who was the real generous person? Was that person generous at all? Yeah, their motivation really was not generous. What they did was good. We don't deny that. But their motivation wasn't a motivation of generosity. it was one of self-aggrandizement. Yeah? And then the other person who gave $20, were they generous? Yeah, they were the real generous person, weren't they? Nobody acknowledges them. Yeah, but they were the true donors. Yeah. So what I'm getting at is looking good is not enough. In fact, looking good can actually totally distract us from doing what is worthwhile. Yeah, because we get so occupied with looking good, appearing good, making ourselves into somebody who's important, that we forget to check in with what's going on inside of here. Yeah, and that's why the talk is called Peace from the Inside Out. Yeah, because when we're just focused on how we look and creating a good image to other people, yeah, it's very easy to be heartless. Yeah, even though we may start out with a kind motivation, it gets lost because of the hype. Yeah, as soon as you start to get noticed, there's some hype, there's the opportunity to get more money, more fame, then, you know, the afflicted part of our mind kind of goes in that direction, and we can get really lost in that. The difficulty, you know, somebody may say, well, what's wrong with getting lost in that? As long as you're able to build the clinic and the hospital and do all these good works, you know, well, what's wrong with, even if your motivation is a little bit off? Okay, well, first of all, if our motivation is off, then there's an effect on us as an individual, in the sense that we are the people who live with ourselves at the end of the day. Yeah? When we go to bed at night, doesn't matter how many people we've impressed, we're the one who has to live with our actions. And when we've acted motivated by, in a selfish way, by anger or greed or the wish for fame and reputation, then we may have gotten all of that, but we have to live with the kind of person that we've become. The person who's just looking for their own benefit, even though they look good to others. Okay? So there's that effect on how we feel about ourselves. And so, you know, I think some psychological problems can develop because of that. Also, you know, if we started out with a good motivation and our good motivation got polluted by, you know, this craving for reputation and money and so on and so forth, it becomes very difficult to really sustain the work we're doing if we are in fact doing work that is benefiting others. If we're doing work that's solely to benefit ourselves, we can sustain that with a motivation to benefit ourselves very easily. But if our motivation started out as one to benefit others, and then it got drowned out, you know, then it becomes very difficult to continue doing the work. Yeah? Because, put it this way, I read a quote by somebody in Google, and as for as much as I think Google does some good work, the quote said something to the effect of, I'm very unhappy when other people can benefit others more than I can. Yeah? Great quote, you know, isn't it? I'm jealous, I'm angry, I'm upset, my pride is wounded when other people can benefit others more than me and I don't get the credit and the glory. So I get jealous, I get angry, Yeah. And when we're competing with others on trying to benefit society, you know, that kind of competition with jealousy, again, just throws us into a very self-centered mental state. When we get angry at people because we are doing so much good work for them and they are just not cooperating. Yeah, have you ever had that problem in your life? Yeah, you look at the people around you and you can see so clearly what they need and what their problem is. And you have so much good advice to give them. And you give them your wonderful, sageous advice. And what do? Yeah, well, when they're being polite, they tell you to mind your own business. When they're not being so polite, they give you the finger. Yeah? So what's going on when we think, you know, that we can solve, that we're so astute, that we can solve everybody else's problems, and that the real problem is that they aren't listening to our advice? Yeah, isn't that the problem with the world? Yeah, that they don't listen to your advice? And think about it, yeah? If your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, even your pet dog, even if they all listen to your advice, wouldn't things go much better? Yeah? And they don't listen to our advice. And then we get angry, and we get frustrated, and our good motivation gets lost in the anger. We can't sustain the good motivation. Okay? So, you know, this mind inside that thinks, you know, I'm going to march in and fix everybody because I have the answers. That motivation is a little bit, could we say arrogant, do you think? Yeah? And yet it's easy to fall prey to that kind of motivation. You know, I have the answers. I have the solutions. You know, we all want to be Mr. or Ms. Fix-It. Yeah? Do some of you approach your life like that? Yeah? Here's a person with a problem, I'll fix it. Yeah? Even in your intimate relationships. Yeah, somebody confides in you. You say, I have the solution. And they say, just listen to me, for God's sake. I don't want to listen. I have the solution. I'm going to fix your problem. I see some people who are resonating with what I'm saying. And some people who are looking stone-faced, like, what are you talking about? Yeah? So, you know, what I'm getting at in all of this is that our effectiveness depends on our motivation. It depends upon the state of our mind. Because without a clean, clear motivation that we're able to sustain in the long term, yeah, we will fall off the edge of a cliff, yeah, so to speak, and get drowned in seeking riches, fame, importance. Yeah. And that's really sad when that happens. Or we will fall off the other side of the roadway with being angry at people. Yeah. Angry at the people we're trying to help, angry at the people who we think are victimizing the people that we're trying to help. And our whole motivation for being of service becomes one of anger. Yeah. So this whole idea, I spoke about it last night for those of you who were at the talk about righteous anger. I don't believe in righteous anger. Yeah. It's too right. Righteous anger is too self-righteous for me. Okay? And it's so easy with that kind of view that our mind actually turns and becomes like the mind of the people who we are whose policies we are trying to oppose. You know, so whether you work on a domestic level and in an international level, you know, you want to change policies, but it's very easy to get angry at the people who you see who are opposed, you know. When you want to change social structures or institutional structures, then certain people, the big they, become an enemy that we are angry at. And so for a while, anger may fuel what we're doing, but that can't last for long because we burn out. Yeah, we get exhausted. You know, anger is not fun. Yeah, it may give us a lot of adrenaline, but we can't sustain it in the long run. And so that's why I feel very strongly that if people are going to work in, you know, socially engaged capacities, it's really essential to have a spiritual practice, yeah, so that you can nourish your own heart, so that you can become your own friend, so that you can maintain your own internal equilibrium. Because for sure, when you're working in socially engaged ways, things are not going to go the way you want. For sure. Because anyway, basically in life, things don't go the way we want, do they? Yeah? We have problems and frustrations all over the place. Yeah? But this somehow view we have of, you know, everything should go the way I want it to go, that view actually becomes a source of disillusionment because we make very unrealistic expectations, you know, and then the expectations don't hold, then we get angry, we get upset, we get burnt out, we throw it all away, and we say, I'm just going to work for my own benefit. And that's a pity when that happens, because we all have so much good that we can do in the world. So to get disillusioned, to throw it away and say, people aren't worth it, that's a loss for ourselves and for them. So the question comes of, you know, how to maintain our good motivation and having an attitude of serving others in the face of difficulties and frustrations. Yeah. And that's why I said that a spiritual practice is so important. You know, because I know that for myself, you know, in the things that I've tried to do, and I have some gray hair, so you can see that, you know, there's a few years that's been put into this. Yeah, that, you know, socially engaged work is not easy. It's tremendously beneficial. But we have to really have a long-term motivation when we do it. When we're expecting things to change quick and easily, yeah, it doesn't happen. When we have a long-term motivation and we become content with creating the cause, we can become content with the process of change instead of so fixated on the goal of the change. Yeah. When the process itself nourishes us, then we can sustain our good works and our motivation for a long time. Okay? But when we're looking for instant rewards, yeah, from the other side, from outside, that usually doesn't happen. Okay? So that's why I really encourage, and in my own life too, I always look at what's my long-term motivation. Yeah, long-term. And then create the causes for that. Yeah? And be satisfied with what's going on. Okay, so are you kind of getting what I'm saying here? Yeah. So to nurture my long-term motivation and to keep myself on track that way, I have a little practice that I do every morning when I wake up. Yeah, that's part of my spiritual practice. So when I first wake up, you know, and you can do this even when you're lying in bed, is I say to myself, what's the most important thing to do today? Now, instantly, our mind goes, well, I have to meet this person, and I have to sign that, and I have to file this, and I have to go here, and I have to do that. No. None of that is the most important thing that we have to do today. Yeah. Most important thing we have to do today is not harm anybody. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah. Bottom line, no matter anything else, most important is I don't harm anybody physically, you know, with intention, that I don't harm anybody with my mouth. Yeah. This weapon of mass destruction called our mouth. Because sometimes our mouth is a big weapon of mass destruction, isn't it? Yeah. So, not to harm anybody physically, not to harm people by what I say. Yeah, by lying to them or creating disharmony in their relationships or talking bad about them behind their back or criticizing them to their face or ridiculing them or teasing them or making fun of them. Yeah. And even mentally, yeah, not to harm others, not to dwell on anger, not to cultivate an attitude of seeking revenge, not rejoicing when other people have problems. So I think that's the most important thing that we have to do every day. All the other things, really, if they don't get done, it's not a disaster. Yeah? But if in doing our daily activities, we harm others verbally, physically, or mentally, that creates problems for others, and it creates problems for ourselves because then we don't feel good about ourselves. Okay? So most important thing is not to harm others. Then there's another most important thing. I don't limit most important to one. Okay? Second most important thing is to be of benefit in whatever big or small way we can. And I think everybody here has the motivation to benefit, to be of service. And, well, we might say, but, you know, I'm not Mother Teresa, I'm not the Dalai Lama, I'm not so-and-so and so-and-so who has a lot of power. But we all have our own field of activity. Yeah. The Dalai Lama and Mother Teresa and Martin Luther King do not live in your family. They do not go to your workplace. Yeah. We live in our family. We go to our workplace. This is the foremost group of people to try and benefit as much as we can. You know? And we benefit in whatever bigger way, small way is possible. Maybe they just ask us to pass the catch-up. But we can pass the catch-up with a kind heart. And that's different than passing the catch-up by going, here. Okay? So there's lots of things, small things that come about through the day where there's the opportunity to reach out and connect with somebody else. Even in very small ways, that I have heard many stories from people that these small ways of even strangers benefiting them have had huge impacts on other people's lives. So even going into your workplace with a smile, or coming home after work thinking, I get to spend the evening with the people I care about the most. Yeah? Even something like that can really change dynamics. Instead of, all these creepy people leave the area around the coffee machine dirty. Why don't they clean it up? Well, how about me cleaning it up? How about me offering service and doing that job that takes 5 minutes? Yeah, so, how can I benefit, whatever big or small way? And, one way in which this motivation really shows? How you drive. Yeah? Somebody needs to change lanes? Please, go. Somebody's on the left side of you and they need to turn right? Please, go in front of me. Yeah? You abandon road rage. Yeah? Don't you think you'd be happier without road rage? And everybody in your car would be safer if you don't have road rage. Okay? Yeah, so just even small ways to benefit others can have life-impacting value. And then third most important thing, is to cultivate the motivation of kindness and love and compassion as much as I can each day. Yeah. So to consciously train my mind in cultivating the awareness of other people's kindness to me, consciously cultivating the mind that wishes them well, that sees us all as equal in wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. Consciously training our mind to want others to be free of suffering, whether it's big suffering or small suffering. And so to continuously work on myself and on my own motivation. And I think that's one of the most important things to do every day. Because that work on our own motivation keeps us connected inside with what our lives are really about and what's important in our life. And then when we see that maybe we've lost our good motivation, it's, we got distracted somehow, then we know, okay, I need to really take more time and do some meditation, do some spiritual reading, to really get in touch with my good motivation again. And make it come up, cultivate it, enhance it. Because if I don't do that, then what usually happens is we cultivate our negative motivation. Our victim mentality gets more entrenched. Our self-pity gets stronger. Our anger gets bolder. And nobody, ourselves nor others, benefits from that. Okay, so 3 most important things to do every day. Not harm others by what we do or say or even think. To benefit them in whatever big or small way we can. And to consciously and as much as possible nourish our own heart by continually cultivating the awareness of kindness, the wish for others to be happy, which is what we have called love, the wish to be free, for them to be free of misery, which is what is called compassion. Yeah? And to do that on a regular basis. Okay? I think if we do that, then, we can maintain our good motivation over a long period of time, and then we're able to continue our good work for a long period of time. When we're able to do that, then we can really benefit others. Yeah, because it's going to take a while to change things. Yeah, just as we know that if we have a bad habit, we can't change a bad habit in one day. It's going to take a while. It needs consistency, persistency. So in the same way, if we want to work for cultural, structural change in, societal institutions or in society in general, we have to do it consistently, persistently, There's no other way, because we're dealing with human beings' minds. And if we look at our own mind, are our own minds always so flexible, open-minded? We like to think that we are. But whenever somebody gives us some advice, do we say thank you so much? Or do we say, get off my back and mind your own business? Okay. Okay, so that's just a little bit. What I'd like to do is open it, and you can make some comments or questions. We can have a bit of discussion. And before you do that, I also really want to thank Jay Feldman and also the Martin Peace Institute and the International Studies Department for organizing this, and for all the good work that you all do besides organizing this. Yeah. Okay, so comments, questions? Yes?
How does Buddhism view the mind? Like, there seems to be a lot of discussion over the training or the understanding of the mind. But how does Buddhism see the mind in terms of human growth? Is it a tool for growth, or how does it work? Is it purely mechanical?
Okay. So first we have to talk about what is the mind from a Buddhist viewpoint. Okay? Mind and brain are 2 different things. Okay, first that. The brain is a physical organ. Yeah? You can, see it under microscopes. You can run scientific experiments on it. You can document, its electrical, magnetic, this and that. Okay, it's physical in nature. The mind is, the definition of mind is clarity and awareness. So clarity on one hand means it is not material. Yeah, it's clear, it's not material. Clear also means that it has the ability to reflect. So the mind knows objects, it reflects things. So clarity and awareness. Awareness, the mind can engage with its objects. So when we say mind in Buddhism, we're not meaning the brain. We also the meaning of mind is not just intellect. Yeah? The one Buddhist word, or Sanskrit or Tibetan or Pali word, whatever you want to use, can be translated as mind and can also be translated as heart. So the same, like in Tibetan, you know, Semzangpo can mean good heart, it can also mean good mind. Yeah. In the West, we think intellect or mind, heart, brick wall. Yeah? Like, we can't integrate the two. But in, you know, the Eastern way of looking at it, there's not a difference between heart and mind. Yeah. So the word that that I say mind, it's referring to the part of us that cognizes objects. So it includes our five senses, plus the mental sense, you know, that thinks and has other abilities. It includes feelings, emotions, views, attitudes, discriminations, all sorts of different things are included in that one category of mind. Okay? So some are more intellectual, some are more emotional, some are neither. Okay? So that whole cognitive and aware part of us. Okay? It's like when you see a dead body, something isn't there. Yeah? You've seen a dead body? Something isn't there. What isn't there? That's the mind. The mind or the heart, you know, it's gone. The brain is still there. Yeah. But the mind and the heart are absent. Okay? So we say, you know, from a Buddhist viewpoint, we talk about training the mind. Okay? And there's a lot of research going on now about the relationship between the mind and the brain. And for sure there's some relationship. You know, I mean, we all know that if you're in a good mood, you get well quicker. Yeah? We all know that when you're sick, then it affects you mentally as well. Yeah? So they do all those studies, but we also know this by our own experience. So there's some relationship. But training the mind is really dealing with that cognitive, aware, feeling, experiential part of us. Okay, so we do practices to train the mind in love and compassion, to train the mind in concentration and attention, yeah? To train the mind in whatever kind of quality you know, is beneficial. To train the mind to be less self-centered. And that is possible. I think, you know, it's interesting. People who are very scientific oriented, there's this thing about survival of the fittest, you know, the Darwinian thing. Actually, His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, speaks about survival of the most cooperative. And when you think about it, it makes more sense than survival of the fittest. Yeah, because how are human beings going to survive? By cooperating with each other. Yeah, not by dog eat dog. Yeah, but by cooperating and helping each other. That's how we're going to survive. That's how we've lived until now, is by cooperating and helping each other. Not by, you know, I want to be best and I'm going to beat you up. Yeah? So, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit of a scientific heretic. I don't really think that people go around thinking, how can I get my genes into the gene pool more than other people's genes? Yeah, has that been anybody's conscious thought? Yeah. Yeah. Well, you might say, you know, that's something instinctive for our biology. True, but, you know, what about our mind? I mean, we're human beings with a human mind, and I think that counts for a lot. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because the thing is, we can change the external world all we want, but until we change our mind, we're not going to have peace. We're not going to have happiness. Yeah. So technology is good in many ways, and it's also created a mess in many ways. Yeah. And whether it benefits or whether it harms, it depends on the human mind and what we choose to do with it. Whether we use it to cooperate and help each other, or whether we use it for our own selfish purposes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
What can we do about the feelings of wanting others to see us in a good way? And is that different from, like, when we do something good for someone, wishing to see them have good come from it, be happy?
Okay. So what to do with the thought that wants other people to see us good, and that when we do something good, wants to see that in fact others have benefited from it. Yeah. Okay. So let me start with the second one, you know, wanting to see some tangible reaction, at least a thank you. At least, come on, folks, I did something for you. At least smile and say thank you. Yeah? So what I found best is forget that expectation. Just drop it. And like I mentioned yesterday, make the doing of the action and the joy in your motivation, make that the reward. Yeah, so that you're just happy to do it. You do it and you let go. Yeah. If people say thank you, great. If they say, what in the world did you do? You check your motivation. You see that you acted with a good one. It doesn't matter. Yeah. You don't take responsibility for other people's emotions when you had no intention to harm them. Okay, so we just take satisfaction in the doing of the action. And as for the first part of your question, wanting others to see us in a good light, again, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Because when that's prominent in our mind, then we become big people pleasers. You know, somebody else wants us to do a somersault, we do a somersault. Somebody else wants us to do a backflip, we do a backflip. We do 2 backflips because it'll make us look better in their eyes. And it's crazy making, yeah? Trying to please other people so that they will like us makes us nuts, yeah? Wanting to please other people because we care about them and we want them to be happy, that's good. Yeah. It's somehow hard for us to differentiate those 2 motivations. But we can usually tell by the result. Because if I'm unhappy at the end, it means that I was wanting some kudos. I was wanting something from it. Okay? If I just do the action, my action is an offering to the universe, and I've checked my motivation, and my motivation was something helpful, then I don't have any regrets. I don't have any doubts. I may still be able to learn from the situation. People can give me feedback. That's fine. But I don't lose my confidence. Okay? So a lot of this boils down to knowing ourselves and learning to evaluate our own actions instead of depending on other people to tell us who we are and what we should be and what we ought to be and what we're supposed to be. Yeah? So, because that, how can we be what everybody wants us to be when they all want us to be different things? Yeah? We have to be in touch with our own good heart and act from that perspective. So, I think we need to, we'll keep going, and people who need to leave can just leave. Yeah.
What's the best practice, effective practice to transform anger? I've done a lot of meditations and things for a particular situation that I'm angry about, and I still cannot seem to transform that energy completely.
Okay. So how to work with anger. Here I have to refer you to some books because it's a big topic and I can't really give you a 25 words or less version of it. So look at His Holiness the Dalai Lama's book, Healing Anger, and my book, Working with Anger. Oh yeah, it's over there. Yeah. So, and the thing is, with learning to work with our anger, it's something we have to do consistently when we're not in the presence of the difficult situations and the difficult people. So what I found very helpful is to bring out situations from the past that I still have not brought peace into my heart with. And, the books talk about other ways to view the situations. And so in my meditation, practice looking at those situations from those different viewpoints, so that you're not suppressing the anger, you're actually just, it dissolves. But you have to practice again, a lot, so that it really changes your perspective. Yeah. Without that consistent practice and familiarization, as soon as somebody criticizes us, we lose it. So, we need a lot of practice in this regard. But it works. If you do the practice over time, it works. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence. It's been a great experience to experience these Dharma talks. I think many people, I come from a dysfunctional family and kind of an abusive home life. And while I can cultivate compassion for family members and forgive them, I find that I'm alive. I can really serve myself better and others when I'm not in that environment. And so, how may one go about, I guess I feel this terrible resistance and guilt out of a sense of feeling of piety once I do dismiss myself and create these boundaries. I guess I'm wondering, how can one reconcile that self-compassion with compassion for others?
Okay. So your question is the feeling of guilt and like being somehow very connected to these people, and yet when you're with them a lot, you don't thrive and you actually go downhill. Yeah. And so then the question is actually, what does compassion mean in that situation? Yeah. So, first of all, guilt is not a virtuous emotion. So if we want to help other people out of guilt, that's not a good motivation for helping them. Yeah. Because guilt it's full of shoulds and oughts and obligation and disgruntlement and power over us and all sorts of things that make us like this, you know. When you're guilty, I don't know about you, you know, I'm like, I'm paralyzed. I can't move, you know, because I should to, I ought to, I'm supposed to. They're not going to like me. They're going to criticize me. What kind of horrible person am I if I don't do this? Yeah. So what word did you hear in just what I just said? Was there one word you heard in the last 2 minutes when I was talking? Me. They're not going to like me. What kind of awful person am I? How can I do this to them? They need me. I'm awful. I'm selfish. I'm guilty. It's all about me. Yeah. Really, I think we need a hit song, you know? It's all about me. It's all about me. Is it? Oh, shucks. But, you know, that's what guilt is all about. It's all about me. It's not really caring about the other people. It's some dysfunctional way of thinking that if I act in a certain way, then I'll like myself more. But it doesn't work because our heart's not in it. We're doing it out of shoulds and ought tos, and there's no compassion in that. Yeah. And then plus, when there's this guilt dynamic in a family, and I know very well guilt dynamics in families from personal experience, as long as, if you're in a dysfunctional family, in a dysfunctional family, put it this way, everybody has their roles. If you look at it, everybody has their roles. As long as you play your role, everybody else will play their role. The moment you figure out, you become aware that I'm playing a role, every time I'm with mom and dad, I'm 6 years old again and I act like a 6-year-old, except with an adult voice and, you know, I paint it over a bit bigger, but inside I feel like a 6-year-old. As long as we keep doing that, they keep doing it. The moment we figure out what we've been doing and we realize that my playing that role doesn't help me and it doesn't help the whole family dynamic. Yeah? Doesn't help others. Yeah. Then we start pulling back from our role. Then initially everybody's going, you know, who am I? But eventually people cannot continue. You know, they will try to play their same role, but they can't continue if you don't play yours. Or to put it in another way, if you don't bite the hook, they can keep throwing it, but you're not going to bite it, and eventually they'll stop throwing it. Yeah. And you can, to stop biting the hook, you don't need to have a big family explosion and, you know, state your independence, you know. You just do what you need to do. I mean, there's nothing wrong with putting yourself in an environment that nourishes you so that you can be a benefit to others. If you're putting yourself in an environment where you feel happy and you're only cared about your happiness, that's something self-centered. But if you're really seeing that, hey, I have some potential to offer the world and I'm not thriving in this environment, yeah, I need to be in an environment where I can thrive, where I can use my talents and abilities, you know, for the benefit of others. And then you just go in that direction and, you know, people adjust one way or another. So I'm not saying be cruel and mean and heartless, yeah, but you just naturally do what you have to do. Yeah? And they throw hooks out and you say, Hi, hook, bye, hook. Yeah, I'm not biting you. So you're still friendly, you're pleasant, you have good ethical conduct, but you just don't bite the hooks. Or you make a joke out of it. Yeah? Does that make some sense to you? Yeah? I think very often in this kind of situation, the real problem is us, that we have so much guilt and feeling of obligation, you know, and supposed tos and shoulds and ought tos that we've internalized. So we need to free ourselves from that kind of conditioning. Yeah? And when we free ourselves from that kind of conditioning, then to make decisions, you know, we look around and think, well, what situation can I live in which I can keep good ethical conduct? In what situation can I be in where I can be a benefit to others? Okay, makes some sense.